Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Courtney with Blooming Kitchen. Today's reflection marks the final piece in the soil series that we've been exploring together over the last several weeks. Throughout this series, we've used soil as a metaphor for tending to our own inner lives and our overall well being. You've heard me refer to this as tending our inner soil, because just like a garden, our lives require a healthy inner soil to plant and grow the things we want to bloom in our lives. A garden goes through a natural cyclical rhythm, or seasons, of planting, growing, blooming, and resting. And today I want to talk about the part of the cycle in soil that we often resist the most: rest, or what I have come to think of as the productive power of surrender. When soil enters a period of rest, when a garden moves into that quiet space between seasons, it's not inactive. Beneath the surface, renewal is happening. Nutrients are beginning to regenerate, microbial life is beginning to flourish again, and structure is busy rebuilding. The soil is quietly preparing itself for the next cycle of growth. It understands something that we often forget. Life was never meant to produce endlessly. And just like soil, we also need seasons of rest so that what wants to come into our lives, or what we want to plant as an intention, can truly thrive. But in a world we live in, rest can feel counterintuitive. We often are taught that progress comes from constant effort. More doing, more striving, more output equals bigger reward. But for many years, I lived in that way too, moving quickly from one responsibility to the next, always trying to keep up, often feeling exhausted in a way that sleep alone could no longer fix. Eventually, that pace led to burnout. And what I've come to understand since then is that rest isn't the opposite of productivity. In many ways, it's the very thing that makes aligned productivity possible. Rest allows our bodies to repair, our minds to clear, and our inner wisdom to finally be heard. But there is something else that happens in rest that I think we often overlook as well. Rest creates the space where we can receive. When we are constantly striving, constantly pushing, constantly gripping for control, our hands are full. And you cannot receive when your fists are clenched or full of clutter. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is loosen that grip. Recently, I found myself in one of those moments where I could feel my body asking for stillness. So I was busy. I had to clear my calendar. I silenced my phone, and I allowed myself to sit in that quiet. It didn't mean that anxiousness, feelings of guilt, and fear that what people were going to think didn't happen for me. It did at the beginning of that process. But it was in that stillness, in what I'd like to call the art of doing nothing, that I realized something. This kind of receiving is where striving ends and thriving begins. Nature doesn't keep a ledger. The rain falls on soil without the soil wondering how to repay the sky. And in the same way, the quiet moments we give ourselves often provide for us in ways we can't yet see. When we allow ourselves to rest, we create openness. We soften the grip of control. And in that openness, life has room to move toward us. Just as healthy soil draws moisture deep into itself, our ability to sit in stillness creates space and almost a vortex for what we truly need to arrive in our lives at the time we need it to. Over time, I've noticed that the more we practice honoring rest, the easier it becomes to recognize when it's needed. At first, we only notice when we're already exhausted, but gradually, when we make this a normal practice in our lives, we begin to hear the quieter signals earlier. And rest becomes less about recovering from depletion and more about living in rhythm. You'll feel more balanced, more alignment, more fulfillment. and more ease. As this soil series comes to a close, what I hope you carry with you is this reminder. Tending your inner soil is an ongoing practice. The more we nourish the ground beneath our lives with rest, reflection, and care, the more everything above the surface can flourish. And if the idea of tending your inner and outer soil resonates with you, I would love to invite you into the Edible Flower Club. It's a space that I've created where we get to slow down, reconnect with nature, and bring more beauty and nourishment into everyday life through the garden, the kitchen, and mindful living. If that feels aligned, you can learn more and join us through the link in the show notes. There's options for monthly and annual. And I thank you so much for being here and walking through this soil series with me. I can't wait to grow with you and see what we grow next.